Just to be emphatically clear, this is not a debate of LeBron versus Jordan. We are strictly comparing the talent of their playoff opponents.
Of course, there are things that factor into the teams that you play. You're going to see much different talent entering the playoffs as a 1 seed versus an 8 seed. And the talent surrounding LeBron and MJ throughout their careers has always played a big factor in where they finished in the regular season.
You'll see in a second why this is so important, but for now, just keep in mind that we've acknowledged this part of the argument.
So we all know how hostile LeBron versus MJ comment section can be, so this is all just going to be some damage control.
Let's get started with the first round. As you can see, we're just taking a look at the top 6 teams each of them played. We'll throw up the full rankings at the end of each round, but towards the bottom of these lists, the teams are a lot more comparable, and we want to be looking more at the heavy hitters here. Round 1 is pretty open and shut. LeBron is famously undefeated in the first round at 13-0. He's never entered the playoffs lower than the 4 seed, so he's never not had a home court in round 1.
Jordan, on the other hand, was a 6 seed or lower in 4 of his first 5 playoff berths, and he paid dearly for it, running into some of the best teams to play the game ever.
Yeah, seriously, we can move right along here. Jordan dropped 63 points, a playoff record on the 86 Celtics, and still lost the game. We can't be out here debating Larry Bird's Celtics to the Oladipo Pacers or the Melo Knicks.
As you can see, it's a different story if you take those top 4 Jordan teams and take them off the table. But if we start splitting hairs now, we'll be here all day.
Things get a little more interesting in round 2.
Jordan was going up against some legendary teams here. We've all seen the bad boy Pistons, the Magic Moment 30 for 30s, and even if you haven't, you can just take a look at all the Hall of Famers on these teams just to know that they were a monster to try to beat in 7 games.
LeBron's main competition here comes from the most recent Big 3 era Celtics. This Celtics squad of Rondo, Allen, Pierce, Garnett, and Perkins never lost a playoff series when healthy. That can be seen here and can be reasonably credited as to what drove LeBron out of Cleveland the first time.
We can't sleep on that 06 Pistons team either. They were fresh off back-to-back finals appearances, and 4 out of their 5 members of their starting 5 were all-stars.
The Pistons were nasty, and so was this Brad Daugherty Cleveland team, which ran into Jordan 4 times in 6 years, breaking their hearts every time. Now we know that LeBron's trying so hard to catch Jordan. Towards the bottom of these lists, teams like the Raptors, the Patrick Ewing Knicks, the Charles Barkley Sixers have similar resumes. They were always a threat but could never get over the hump.
The hump here being the 2 greatest competitors in the history of sports.
Rounding out these lists are the Bulls and the Hawks. This Bulls team was the best version of the Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler lineup. This Hawks starting 5 was also pretty deep. It featured Christian Laettner making his only career All-Star appearance.
This round is way closer than the first, but ultimately, the edge probably goes to LeBron. 4 out of these 6 teams were serious high-end finals contenders, which can really only be said for the 88 Pistons and the 95 Magic.
The bottom half of these lists are a lot more teams with solid starting lineups, but honestly never posed any threat to these GOATs.
Tied at 1 apiece, we head to the conference finals. Comparing the top 2 teams each of them played, the edge goes to Jordan. I mean, the 2011 Bulls were the best team in the regular season, led by MVP Derrick Rose. The 09 Magic, led by 23-year-old Dwight Howard, made it past the Celtics and LeBron to face Kobe in the finals. As good as those teams were though, they just don't compare to the back-to-back champion Detroit Pistons who took down Bird's Celtics, Jordan's Bulls, and Magic's Lakers.
The Hawks team LeBron faced had a great starting lineup that won them 60 games before they famously got swept out by LeBron. The Shaq and Penny Magic definitely posed a bigger threat because apparently you do need a star player to succeed.
The 07 Pistons and the 2012 Celtics were both out of their prime years of finals contention, whereas the 92 Cavs and the 93 Knicks were probably the best versions of those teams of that era.
You can add a healthy Kyrie Irving or Gordon Hayward to the 2018 Celtics, or you can swap them out for the 2015 Pacers. But it wouldn't be enough to give LeBron's opponents the W in this round. It's got to go to Jordan again.
As you can see, we didn't even talk about the Reggie Miller Pacers, which The Last Dance tried to paint as Jordan's toughest playoff opponent.
Maybe if Isaiah Thomas doesn't grind his hip into a nub versus the Wizards in 2017, LeBron's list gets a little better, but it still wouldn't have been enough.
Now we get into the finals, which I'm sure will be the most contested part of this entire video.
Honestly, the hardest part of this ranking was where to put the 2014 Spurs. They played a perfect brand of basketball under Greg Popovich and stopped LeBron from a three-peat.
The problem is, these Warriors teams were just unfair. They take down LeBron in 2015, and then they go out and have the best regular season in the history of the game. And then they go out and grab Kevin Durant and effectively ruin basketball for the next 2 years.
LeBron had to face all of that after facing 2 Spurs teams that overlapped the primes of future/current Hall of Famers Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and a young Kawhi Leonard.
Jordan didn't exactly have it easy though. If you think about it, the Stockton-Malone Jazz never winning a championship is one of the biggest anomalies in sports. They made the playoffs together in 18 consecutive seasons, neither one having to deal with any kind of career-threatening injury. Malone sits in second in all-time in points, seventh in all-time in rebounds, and first in starts. Stockton himself sits at first in assists and steals.
They should be argued way more as the best little big duo in NBA history. If you compare their stats to Jordan and Pippen, they have a serious case of being the better pair.
You add into this mix a Lakers team featuring Magic at age 31 making his 9th finals appearance and a prime 29-year-old James Worthy, who's already got 3 rings.
The 96 Supersonics were crazy talented on both ends. They were second in points per game and second in defensive rating.
Rounding out Jordan's list, you've got Charles Barkley and Clyde Drexler, making their first finals appearances.
We would go more into these teams if they faced the 2011 Mavericks or the 2012 Thunder, but they're not. They're up against the Spurs, who are at the apex of a nearly 20-year dynasty. The Suns and the Blazers don't come close.
This argument is competitive, and will likely draw different reactions from different generations. But to us, the answer is clear. There are hardly any teams in NBA history that can compare to what we witnessed from the Golden State Warriors dynasty. Unfortunately for Jordan's opponent's argument here, none of these teams are better than a single one of these Warriors teams.
So the finals goes to LeBron's opponents, which confirms arguments from both LeBron and Jordan's haters and fans.
LeBron had a much easier time getting to the finals. We barely saw him break a sweat before getting to the Warriors in his second stint with the Cavs. He hasn't faced a legitimate threat to his finals runs since the Big Three Celtics.
Jordan, on the other hand, had to go through teams his whole career who came at him year after year with reloaded and retooled rosters specifically built to beat him. Fortunately for Jordan, though, he never had to play a team that was on the level of the recent Golden State Warriors, who were arguably even a little better before they added Kevin Durant.
Going through all this research and data gave us a greater understanding of the LeBron versus Jordan debate. It's not a deciding factor, but it's definitely useful information when people are throwing stats at you like 9 straight finals appearances and 6-0.
And who knows? This narrative may be about to change. LeBron is about to try and make a finals run in the Western Conference for the first time. Before he even gets a chance to prove that he's on the best team in the world, he's going to have to prove that he's on the best team in his own city.